have I ever made one of these before? No. Do I have the books necessary to make this video? Also no, because I get my books from the library and yeah, I had to give them all back because they were like, please give them back, other people want them, so I had to give them all back. However, I want to make the video anyway, because for the first time in quite literally what might be a decade, I have read over 50 books. Like, I finished my Goodreads goal, which was 45 books in like June, you know, or July maybe. But yeah, I've read 53 books so far, and I'm probably going to get one done by the end of the day. But we're not going to go through that book because that book has no relevance to this video. So yeah, mid-year freakout time. I've never done this before. I've only ever watched them, and even then, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe the black on black was a bad idea. Can you see me? Am I floating? No. Okay, the first book is a book that you read this year that was your new favourite book, and I keep looking at the viewfinder instead of the camera. Dumbass. Anyway, it's okay. We move. My new favourite book this year is definitely Convenience Store Woman. Okay, I did think I was going to like this book. I'm not going to say that this was a book that I was not expecting to like, but it took me ages to get around to it. Like, I had it on my Goodreads TBR for like years, even before like the TikTok sort of hyped it up, like kind of last year, kind of the year before, but I've been having it. I've had it on my TBR since like Ariel Bassett read it ages ago, and she said like something about it on her podcast, and I listened to it and I was like, oh, interesting book. I like the idea of someone wanting to be a convenience store woman, you know? And so I read it and I really liked it. Like, I think I like it even more in hindsight. Like, I did a video on it talking about Japanese novels, and I really liked it when I read that the first time, and I was talking about it in that video, and I did really like it, but I think I like it even more now. However, I will still say one of the main things about this book that really took me off guard was that I thought she was just kind of normal and just really liked working at a convenience store. I didn't realise she was sort of like really obsessed with it. I thought she was just like, I don't have any other aspirations, but I really like working here. Which is true, but I feel like her mind, the way her mind works and the way she interacts with people is like definitely some sort of like neurotypical, not neurotypical, very neurodivergent in a way that I wasn't expecting. I thought she was just like neurotypical and just really liked working at a convenience store. Because I just like quit working at a library, right? And some people just really like customer service jobs like this. They don't want another job, like this is it for them, but they like it. And I feel like that is something that people don't really talk about. People can just really like customer service jobs, which wasn't exactly what this book was about, but still a great book regardless. I don't really stand up when I make videos. I usually sit down, plus I usually have a bit more of a script, plus I also need to start looking at the viewfinder instead of, not the viewfinder, the thingy, instead of looking at the camera. I keep stopping, not doing that. Okay, new release that I have not read yet. Okay, the first one, Jane Austen, okay? I know this is weird because I'm like mainly somebody who reads literary fiction these days, but I am a Shadowhunters fiend, okay? I started reading them when I was 12. When you start reading something when you're 12, you're in it for life, okay? Insert that one clip from Matthew Gray Goblet from the Criminal Minds where they were like, the things that you liked when you were 14 is kind of the things that like make up your personality forever, which is so depressing because I definitely would have liked better shit if I knew that this was it for life, okay? Do you know how embarrassing it is when you tell someone that you want to get a Teen Wolf tattoo? I don't. It's not for Teen Wolf, but it's from Teen Wolf. It's a quote from Teen Wolf. I haven't got it yet because honestly having to tell people that it's a Teen Wolf tattoo makes me sweat, okay? I would have liked better things. Anyway, but yeah, the new Cassandra Clare book is something that was released, I think in like January. It is now July. However, I have not read it yet. I want to. Even though I've heard not so good things about it, I just want to finish it just because I read all of them, okay? And I've been duped into believing that there's a sequel series for the original Mortal Instruments series coming out for the last 6 years, and if I don't read every single one of Cassandra Clare's books, I'm not going to be able to find the little sort of like what's it called? Easter eggs that she puts in all of them. I want to know in absolute completion what happens to every character, and that means I need to read this stupid book, even though this book is going to be like 700 pages long. Oh my god. Ugh, I didn't like the other two books in this series that much either, and this one not being good does not bode well for me. The other one is the new TJ Klune book. I've not read Under the Whispering Door, but I also want to read The Lives of Puppets, I think it's called. That's what it says on here, and I want to get around to it. I probably will in the autumn because I think TJ Klune has very autumny books, and I want to get around to it eventually. But yeah, that's like not a priority. Jane Austen, I need to get around to doing that because that has been on my list for way too long. My anticipated upcoming release. I don't really keep on track of upcoming releases. I sort of just like wait for them to be released and then read them. But because, yeah, I don't really have my eyes on things that are going to come out unless it's like part of a big series. And I haven't read any new fantasy recently, so I'm not really waiting on anything recently. So I'm going to go with the new Sakuya Murata. I think that's like the name, Sakuya Murata, yes. Her new book has finally been translated. So maybe that one. I also haven't read other things yet, so probably need to get around to all of those. But yeah, since I really like Convenience Store Women, I have a feeling I'm going to like that one too. Yeah, that's definitely my only sort of upcoming release that I'm like really excited to read. My biggest disappointment, I will say, is probably To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. Okay, it's a classic and it's Virginia Woolf and I want to like it, okay? I'm not really sure how I stand on classics because some classics I do like I love Jane Austen so much. Even the ones I don't really like, I like Persuasion, not my favourite, personally. Still love it, okay? I don't really like Mansfield Park, but I kind of love the idea of Mansfield Park. But I really don't like a lot of classics. Like, classics really bore me if they're not plot heavy or like the characters aren't interesting. And in To the Lighthouse, I just made a video about this book, so this was in my Greta Gerwig video. And basically all of it is just thoughts. Some of it's really good. Like, sometimes they all really focus in on one thought someone's having. Like, there was one where they're all at dinner. Oh my god, the lighting changed. Where they're all at dinner and the mother of the family sort of like looks outside the window and she's sort of like observing these birds and like what these birds like are doing and how that kind of correlates to her. And I thought that was a really, really interesting thing to think about. Like, it really sort of sets out what she's like. And that was very nicely written. However, it was so boring. I didn't care. I'm so sorry. Maybe I should have taken more time to read it, but I just didn't care. I read it in audiobook as well, just to make sure that I could really like keep up with it. I didn't like it. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't like Virginia Woolf, and that makes me really upset because I want to be like a dark academia, like academic girly, but Virginia Woolf is just not for me. Maybe I need to read like Emily Dickinson or something. I don't know. Who's going to be my gay literary fave? Because Virginia Woolf is failing me consistently since I was like 17 when I read Mrs. Dalloway for the first time. So yeah, biggest disappointment. Does this make me look like an egg? I had to, the bangs were not banging, you know, so I had to clip them up. I'm finally gonna get them cut. I don't know if I am. I did like 3 hours of like anxious pacing before I finally DM'd my hairdresser to be like, hey, can I get my fringe cut? And she hasn't replied to me because it's a weekend and she doesn't work on the weekends. So who knows? Who knows when I'm gonna get my bangs cut? You know, it might just be this clipped up style forever. Oh my god, it looks like an egg. Ugh. Anyway, the biggest surprise when it came to reading this year, so far, it was definitely The Hawkline Monster. It's a gothic western, and it's kind of like one of the like defining books of this genre. I don't know, is it a genre? I guess it is a genre. And it was for my Sofia Coppola video, and it's one of her favourite books, and I really like it. Apparently her brother recommended it to her, and she recommended it to me. It's about these two hitmen who are sort of tasked to kill this monster, and they go somewhere and they have to like go into an ice cave and kill a monster, and it's really good. Like, the short chapters, excellent, the characters, very well done. It's written like a very, very modern novel. Like, it feels very authentically modern, but it was written a really long time ago. It was like all about Western vibes. It's great. It's a really good book. Well written. All the characters great. Little bit racist. I can't lie. Little bit racist. What can you expect? It was America. Very like thorough character writing for such a short book, especially with the fact that the plot is pretty basic too. Everything comes together really nicely, and it definitely feels like a novella. You're watching a as I said, I think in that video, it feels like you're watching an anthology series. Like, it would be like a Black Mirror episode if Black Mirror focused more on like science fiction instead of like new age dystopia vibes, you know? Very good book. Highly recommend. It's a weird thing to randomly recommend because it's such an old book and it doesn't fit into really any genre that most people read these days. But a very good, fun, quick read. Okay, my new favourite author. Okay, I know I've already said this. Tsukio Murata. Kyoko Kawakami. I didn't realise she was a woman when I read the book Heaven. She's a woman. Love that. Love that for her. I'm much more excited to read her now that I know she's a woman. So yeah, I've only read one book. I've not really read a lot of books by the same author unless it's like rom-com. I read all of Beth O'Leary's books this year. I did not like them. Not entirely. I just thought they were kind of bleh. And that's fine, you can like them and they're great, but I feel like I've just gotten off of reading rom-coms. I think rom-coms work so much better as movies. I don't know if I feel that sort of like rush and happiness and cuteness that I feel when I'm watching a movie or a show that's a rom-com rather than a book. Like, I feel like a book really drags it instead of making me feel light. Another thing is just, I don't think that about romance novels, just rom-coms. I just think maybe perhaps the books aren't funny enough to carry sort of like the airy attitude that you need for a rom-com, because I don't think these authors are perhaps funny as they need to be, because again, like a writing team sometimes when it comes to a movie where it's just like one person and the editor, and if you're not funny but the editor or whatever thinks that the book is okay, you're going to get published regardless of whether it's funny or not, even though a big part of this kind of genre is to be funny. You have to be funny first and then the romance is there, whereas I don't think a lot of these books that are rom-coms are funny, and that's kind of sad because that's kind of the genre, guys. It's not like, I don't know, maybe it's just like light romance. That sounds lame though, doesn't it? Even saying light romance is sort of rom-com, but it's like, if you're not funny in the rom-com genre, don't write a rom-com. That's mean, but it's true. Like, entertain or go away. That was a really massive tangent about rom-coms instead of answering who's my favourite new author. I also want to put in Madeline Miller. I finally read one of her books. I only read one, again, haven't read more than one of anyone's books this year. really good. I really liked it. I will get onto which book that was later on. But yeah, I really like that book, and I will be reading Song of Achilles soon. So Song of Achilles was not the one that I have read. Song of Achilles, I put you on the back burner for years, mate, and I don't know if you're in the forefront running for what I'm going to be reading next by Madeline Miller. Next one is new favourite and least favourite character. I think my new favourite character was Circe from Circe. I think I'm saying Circe right. I used to do Latin, still don't know her name though. Anyway, Circe. She's not Latin, she's Greek. Never used to do Greek. I did do classical civilization as a subject for a year though. Yeah, didn't like it massively though, to be fair. Anyway, Circe. I really like her. I really like the way she was written. I like the entire arc of that book. I think it builds her character so nicely from somebody who's kind of useless and pathetic to someone who's really challenging and exciting and a novel character. I like the way the slowness of sort of the building of her character, the way it feels real and raw, and how you can really like empathize with her character. Lovely character. Definitely one of my favourites, which is probably why I'm so excited to read a Madeline Miller book, because I want to see if other characters are written with such like empathy and just feeling, because I really felt for Circe in a way that I haven't for a lot of the other characters that I have read this year. My least favourite character is definitely Kiyoaki from Spring Snow. Oh my god, I want to bash his head, and he was so useless. Oh my god, like I know like low-key that was the point. He is this aristocratic, not really aristocratic, he's sort of like on the borderlines of aristocratic character who's got everything handed to him, and the first thing that ever goes wrong in his life sort of crushes his entire life to pieces, and he does not know how to handle that, and he doesn't know how to handle decisions, and therefore he is written well. However, he makes me want to scratch his eyes out because he's so annoying. He doesn't make any good decisions, he doesn't make any plans, he is useless, he's not romantic, even though this is a romance novel, kind of. It's a romance-based novel, even though it's not really about that. It's more like contemporary fiction for the time. It's actually not, it's actually historical. I think it was written in the 40s, but it's about like the early 1900s. Still, I hate him with passion. Okay, he's so useless, and that's what I hate the character most, even though it made sense that he was useless, but I hate him. The next section is a book that made you cry. Section? Heading. Tag? I don't know. What's the word for it? Next question? Yeah. Is what a book that made you cry, basically. So I'm going to say the namesake for this. So this is a book by Jhumpa Lahiri, and it's just about this guy. So it basically follows him from when he was born, basically, up until sort of like middle age, and it's about the fact that his name is Gogol, like the author, like a Russian author, Gogol, and he's like, he doesn't like his name because it's neither Indian nor American, so it just feels like out of place. He doesn't understand why he's called this, he hates the fact that he's called this, and just like all of the issues that he has with his life, sort of pre and post changing his name. A little bit of a spoiler, but like I think that's written in the synopsis of this book. And I think it was just really good. It was really close to me. I felt really sad at points because it felt really relatable. He is a second generation immigrant like me. I never know which one it is. Is it first or second if you're the child of somebody who immigrated? I think it's second. But yeah, second generation immigrant. He, you know, he's not somebody who's like had a hard life, but it's sort of just like the meniality of like being a second gen immigrant. Like, I liked that it wasn't sort of a struggle story. It wasn't like he was depressed the whole time. It was like him having a life, but it was sort of just like the menialities of someone like that. Because I feel like a lot of the time when you read contemporary literary fiction, it is about white people a lot of the time, unless you're like sort of searching out stories. Usually these are done by smaller imprints, smaller publishers. You don't have as much marketing. You know, you have to go looking for things if you want to read something by somebody who's not white about people who aren't white. So, you know, I did that, and I read this and I really liked it, so I will be reading more of Jhumpa Lahiri's books. Yeah, that's what I have to say about it. It made me cry because of just how sweet and endearing a lot of it was, even though my character's kind of like a little bit of an arse. Like, he's not a great guy, especially to his family at the beginning, but generally I just really liked it. I think he was just like very, very interesting, especially as someone who wanted to write a character like him. I feel like he really inspired me to write, or like the book did, and him as a character, following him as the main character, inspired me to write something. So the next question is a book that made you happy, and I've got two answers for this, and one of them is Felicity by Mary Oliver, which is a poetry collection. I really liked this. It was really sweet and nice to read. It was all about nature, and it felt really happy. It felt like breathing, it felt like fresh air, it felt like spring. I mean, it's called Felicity, it's literally called happy, so, you know, again, another reason to put it in section. Question, section, heading, I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, I really liked it because of that. I thought it was a really good poetry collection. I really understood it. I think I've read a lot of poetry this year that I didn't really understand, perhaps because I'm an idiot, but it made me feel like I could read more poetry because it felt really readable, really accessible. I've read a lot of poetry, I'm not gonna lie, I did an English degree, so I have more, you know, ability to read poetry and analyse it, but I still find it really, really difficult, and Mary Oliver definitely felt like a nice opening space, and I definitely want to read more of her stuff. I don't know if I'm going to go into devotions because it's like massive, but maybe another one of the smaller collections like Felicity. Yeah, a lovely read. A lot about God, which I wasn't expecting, but still, I don't mind reading about God. I don't believe in God, but like I don't mind exploring that if it's as something in a poetry collection. I love poetry about God. I like how people express their opinions and feelings about God, because God is so important to people. And the other book is The Little Prince. I finally read The Little Prince. I've had this on my to read for a very long time. It's obviously a lot of people's favourite books. It's a lot of actors' favourite books. It made it onto a lot of people's lists when I was like reading for like some of the stuff that I wanted to make like actors' favourite books videos, you know, and it's on a lot of people's. So yeah, I finally read it and it was really cute. I like all the little pictures for it. It's profound in a way that I find like, would a child reading this get it? Like if you read this to your child, would they be like, yes, I understand all of the really profound, deeper meanings that are imbued into this book? Perhaps not, but still a very sweet book. I'm not a child and therefore I understood all the profound meanings. It was a good book. I heavily understand why James Dean annotated the shit out of this book and was so obsessed with it. I've pretty much only bought one book this year, and it was Angela Davis's Race, Class and Women, I think it's what it's called. No, Abolition Feminism Now. Oh my god, not Race, Class and Women. Abolition Feminism Now is what I thought. And that's not the most beautiful book that I own, but the most beautiful book, which has the cover, like my favourite cover. I actually didn't read it with this cover, but I think this cover is amazing. I want to give it a shout out anyway, just what a cover. Master and Margarita. I love this cover. I don't know if I like this book enough to own it, but this cover is so beautiful that I'm like, I kind of want to have it just for that. But yeah, what a nice book. I need to stop moving in and out. I feel like that's really screwing up the focus of this video. Anyway, that book, beautiful cover. I think it really focuses on what the book is about. Obviously, it's very clear from the actual like story, but it's not a direct thing of like the Master and Margarita. That's not what the cover shows. That's really nice too. But yeah, what a beautiful, gorgeous cover. More people need to take hints from this, because the vintage print cover that I had when I read it, gross. This is the last one from the media freak out tag questions. I have some more that I want to add of my own because I like talking. But the ones from this is what to read before the year ends. I'm going to go with Under the Whispering Door, because I did not read it last year when I said I would. I wanted to read it around the November time. I never made time for it and it went away, and I still want to read it in the springtime. I don't want to read it in the summertime, and it's been a whole year since I read House on Cerulean Sea. I find cerulean so hard to say. And yeah, I want to get around to it. I want to finally feel the happiness, and I might read it with the new TJ Klune, like, so I read them together. But yeah, I love the vibes, and I feel like perhaps this like September or November will be like the time to really get them out of the way. The next one is Breast and Eggs. I've heard so many good things about this book. Okay, I've had more good things about this book than Heaven, but I wanted to read Heaven more because of the plot that was just like incredible, and it is a really good book. If you've not read Heaven by Kyoko Kawakami, I highly recommend. Very good. It's about a boy with a glass eye? No, it's just a lazy eye. He doesn't have a glass eye. A lazy eye, and sort of like the bullying he faces because of it. It's very, very good. I highly recommend. And also Psalm for the Wild Built. I've kind of been wanting to read this since Alison Pages recommended it in one of her videos, and I've really wanted to read it since then. I think it's really sweet, and I might read it with the other two, the TJ Klune. I feel like they might all go together as a nice little sweet read about life, the world. I don't think Psalm for the Wild Built, I keep calling it the wrong thing. Psalm Built, no. I think they're all about like, they're not fantasy, I think it's science fiction, so it's not exactly the same, but still something that I'm excited to read, and I feel like all of those will go together very nicely. The last few questions I want to add is just like 3 sections that are about hype. Like I feel like hype is something that's important, and perhaps I feel like something that should be in this tag anyway. So the first one is living up to the hype. What is the book that lived up to the hype? And the first one I want to go with is The Princess Diarist. So I read this book, and it's by Carrie Fisher, so Princess Leia, and it's really good. It's about her time filming the first Star Wars movie, and it's basically all these like diary entries that she was writing during this time. It's great. It's a lovely, lovely read. It's amazing. She's a very good writer, and she writes so well in this. So I read all 3 of her memoirs, and this is my favourite one. And it's beautiful, very, very sort of inspiring, but like sad, but powerful, and lots of quotes that you want to underline. It makes you feel for her, but it's like very clearly like only one part of her life. So you know she's like lived more than this. Especially since I read the other 2, it's like I've seen like her other parts of her life, because like this, she comes back. So this is her last one. She actually dies like kind of right after like releasing this. So she kind of talks about like other things in her life before this, but this is like the furthest back it kind of goes. Like when it comes to Star Wars, this is the one that talks about Star Wars the most. The other 2 don't really talk about Star Wars as much as this one does, whereas the other ones talk about like her addiction, her child, and like everything after, whereas this is more about Star Wars. I highly recommend reading this if you are a fan of Star Wars. It will give you an insight into Star Wars that you perhaps didn't have. A book that didn't live up to the hype. I don't want to say this is my biggest disappointment, because I don't think it was like my biggest disappointment. I think it was just like a book that felt like it was hyped heavily, and I just didn't like it. And that was The White Album by Joan Didion. I've not read anything else by Ginger Dean, so I am just going to give her another chance. But this book, not for me. Like, I don't really like essay collections that much anyway, because I feel like essay collections, especially written by Americans, feel like an article or a memoir more than it feels like an essay. Because I don't understand what essay constitutes in America. Like, is it just like thoughts? Because aren't essays meant to have like messages and like proper things said throughout them? Aren't they meant to have conclusions and points? There's none of that. So I don't think that's like what an essay is meant to constitute, because this is like, you know, one of the most famous essay collections ever made. So I'm not thinking that she made it wrong. I think I just don't understand what an essay collection is. But in not understanding that, I don't think I like this style of essay. I don't like it. I'd much rather if it was more theory based. But obviously her thing is articles, like she was a journalist. So this is kind of her vibe. I don't think I like it. And I don't know if all of them are like this. And yeah, just essay collections by Americans confuse me massively, and I don't know if they're ever going to get less confusing, or if I'm just going to have to understand that they're kind of memoir-esque, because I'm not really getting any points or opinions or ideas, you know? It's not like a bell hooks one either, where it's like you're getting loads of ideas, so you're sort of like expanding yourself through that. Joe Didion wasn't saying anything that I was like massively interested in either, and I don't really care about the 60s that much either. So another thing about this book was giving, you know, was not giving. And my last segment is segment question again, like whatever, let's just leave it, let's just go with it, is something that surpassed the hype. And I think that book that surpassed the hype for me was Crying in H Mart. This is very hyped. Everyone loves this book. It's like one of people's favourite memoirs of all time ever, and I understand why. Okay, lots of reasons why this surpassed the hype. I didn't know it was about Japanese for breakfast. I only found that out like kind of whilst reading it. I was like, famous singer, who is this woman? Japanese breakfast, guys. Coming to a movie near you, apparently. However, I don't know if this massively needs one. You know, it's a memoir about a woman who's alive and still famous. Like, she's not old yet. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know, like, it doesn't seem like her mum died that long ago. It feels odd to make this, but obviously she's involved in making the movie, so if she's happy, then who am I to say anything? But yeah, a movie about this, I'm gonna be so sad. There's gonna be a lot of sad girl, like, trifecta. It's gonna be like in the Past Lives, Return to Korea, Crying to H Mart. That's gonna be the trifecta of like sad Korean American movies. Wait, is Return to Seoul about a Korean American? I think it is. Maybe I lied there. Is Past Lives about? Oh my god, am I lying? I don't think I'm lying. Anyway, it's gonna be a trifecta of sad Korean movies. But yeah, I love this book. Like, it was just so sad, and it was just like amazing, and it just felt like it was telling me what I felt about my mum, okay? My mum's not dead. She is at the beach currently. She didn't invite me to go to the beach with her. She just went to the beach with her friends without me, which is fun, because I live in her house, and she decided that she wouldn't invite me, which is great. Yeah, I'm not pissed about it. I just felt like the entire relationship was great. I felt so, like, sad reading this book, especially since, like, the parent that she gets left with is, like, the white dad in this, like, interracial relationship, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I can't imagine, like, losing, like, your, like, Asian mum, you know, especially if you're not in interracial marriage, because it's like, you do really lose a part of yourself there. It's like a connection that you kind of have to your life, your heritage, toward, like, with her, and you, like, can't have it anymore, you know? That wouldn't happen to me. My parents both not white, but yeah, like, what an insane thing to happen. And like, for her to document, like, it's obviously something that happens to a lot of people, but like, this is crazy, and it's really well written, and the fact that she became famous for other things after, like, oh my god, like, what an incredible book. The fact that she was like, I'm gonna write this regardless, like, wow, massively have to give props to that. Like, the fact that she had to make music whilst also doing this, incredible. Love that for her. But yeah, also the fact that her husband is in the band with her, that's so crazy. I find that so scary. I would never go on a business venture with my significant other. That seems terrifying. What if you break up? Do you just stay in the band? Do you have to break up Japanese breakfast? No, that's horrible. Anyway, love that book. Massively rambling now. End the video here, because I am done. This is my video freak out, because I finally read enough books to actually be able to make a video like this, because I read lots of books, and I'm happy to read lots of books, and I want to read more fantasy. That's like a massive thing though. I didn't really put that much fantasy in my, like, to read later part of the video, but I want to read more fantasy, and that is something I am going to prioritize. I think I want to read a Poppy War soon. I loved R.F. Kuang's Babel. I've not read Yellowface yet. I don't know if I want to read Yellowface or Poppy War first, but I'm gonna go with maybe Poppy War, just because I'm in the real mood for fantasy, and it's only 3 books long, and it's about a Chinese girl, which, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I've never read any fantasy with, like, a Chinese protagonist, so massively gonna get into that. I mean, obviously she's not Chinese, is she? Because I don't think it's Southern Earth, but, like, she's Asian, kind of. I don't really understand how that works, but I assume she's just sort of, like, ethnically Asian. I, again, don't know how that works ethnically in a fantasy world. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope the Poppy War is good. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like, maybe. And yeah, have a nice day.